the third world is not poor. You don't go to poor countries to make money. There are very few poor countries in this world. Only the people are poor. When people didn't have enough to eat, when people were driven to the edge of desperation, there's billions to be made there, to be carved out and to be taken. The capitalist European and North American powers have carved out and taken the timber, the bauxite. They have taken out of these countries. These countries are not underdeveloped. They're overexploited. They're overexploited. They're overexploited.
A very special good evening to all the listeners and viewers. Welcome to another edition of the Lall Show right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1, 99.5 FM. Thank you so much for joining us. So brief introductions before we jump right into Mr. Lall's presentation. With me this evening, we have senior journalist of Kaieteur News, Ms. Kiana Wilberg, and we will be joined by the another senior journalist of Kaieteur News, Mr. Kimal King, a bit later. We also have a very special guest with us, Mr. Adwin Williams, and of course, the man of the hour, Mr. Glenn Lall. My name is Shakima Day, no stranger to Kaieteur Radio, and I will be your moderator this evening. A few housekeeping matters. We all know that the Lall Show is a very interactive session, so the phone lines will be open. You can call us on 226-7453, or you can send us a text on WhatsApp or a straight, simple text message on 6222222. We are also being streamed live on Kaieteur Radio's Facebook page, and right there you can drop us a comment or a question on Mr. Lall's presentation or anything you would like to know to find out about Guyana's oil and gas sector. So, Mr. Lall, with that brief introduction, I'll hand the baton over to you. Commence your presentation.
Thank you. I'm in the newspaper business 26 years now, and yesterday I celebrated my 24th birthday. I feel that way, and I look better than a 24-year-old. If you've never seen me, trust me, I feel better than a 25-year-old. And we had a beautiful celebration at the Kaieteur News. I got some beautiful birthday cards, birthday cakes, and best wishes from the staff and many people out there. I just want to say thank you for all those beautiful sentiments you expressed in the cards and in telephone calls and messages I received. I even received a Christmas card from ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil sent me a Christmas card, a birthday card, which says, "Happy birthday to you, Mr. Glenn Lall, from ExxonMobil." And at the bottom of that says, "Number more oil." More oil. I find that amusing. And when you check more oil, it corresponds to a telephone number, 667-3645. I had a beautiful time last night, I must tell you. The police came. The whole divisional A, which is Georgetown, came. And when they heard the music and they saw the drinks and the food, we all went home 4 o'clock this morning. Oh my God. So I had the entire police force having. Thank you guys. Shutting us down. And let us enjoy ourselves. Life was meant to enjoy every moment of it, especially on your birthday. I want to talk tonight on Guyana, where we are, our wealth, and who's getting it. And I also want to tell you that all of us, every single one of us, is living off donations, loans, and handouts since independence. That is what the leaders of this country have been having us living off of since independence. I want to give you, before I get to that, my presentation, I want to give you a gut check tonight. Last Monday, when I got off the radio, my phone rang, and the gentleman on the other side said, Mr. Lall, when you don't talk, I just feel like crying. Guys, when I hear things like that, it makes me feel good. It energizes me. It makes me want to go on and on like energizing battery. You know the battery. I am so happy, so happy that I can come on this radio and explain what's taking place here in our beautiful country, so that all of you can come out from that deep sleep you're living in, that deep dream that you have when you go to bed. Now, think about this one that I'm about to tell you guys. What I'm about to tell you, and ask yourself, what's going on? How can this happen in a country with so much wealth? This is what happened over the weekend. A poor woman died from COVID-19. She was a pensioner. She wasn't a very important citizen, just a pensioner. Now, here is the problem. The story I'm about to tell you, many of our brothers and sisters facing right across this land. The woman died and had nothing, completely nothing. So now there's a struggle to bury this poor woman. Her family cannot afford it. So they are scraping around, running around, begging for help. Of course, a friend called me. That's how I know the story. And I pitch in my piece to help for this cremation. The Ministry of Social Protection lending a hand, but it wasn't enough. So I pitched in. Isn't this a shame, guys? A citizen of this land died and couldn't even afford to bury herself after working for decades in this country. And we have so much. Man, it's terrible. We got so much. So much with such a small population. And all this wealth. And a sister can't bury herself. Guys, this is more than unthinkable. It is unimaginable. Any leader with any self-respect would feel shame and do something to avoid these type of shameful stuff that's going on in this land. We should not accept that. We should never think about dying and have to be left in the hospital and allow strangers to bury us or burn us. We got too much in this land, brothers and sisters, too much. I want to talk about something else before I get into tonight's program. Today, the Kaieteur News carried a story in which the World Bank, listen to this carefully, guys, the World Bank is upset that Guyanese, me and you, see our oil contracts. Could you believe that? The World Bank upset that we see it. And it's not Lall saying this, guys. The presidential advisor, Dr. Mangal, said so. He was the man who convinced President Granger, I spoke about this thing, to release them oil contracts so that the Guyanese people can see and know what's inside of them. When they made that announcement with that oil contracts, Lall and his staff was the happiest set of people. Just for us to get to see, get to understand, get to know what's in there for us. Hence, you can have programs like this and so many articles about our oil in the newspapers every day. The World Bank, who's supposed to be looking out for us, protecting and safeguarding us as a nation, has said it's a bad thing that Guyanese people see the contract. Can you believe that, Kiana? Guys, can you believe this? Huh? This thing is unimaginable, man. Sometimes I want to ask myself which side these people they're on. Many times, many years ago, because of the things they're doing to nations around this world, including Guyana, when they force loans upon us, is not to benefit us, is to benefit other players that they are receiving bigger benefits from.
Force loan with conditions.
Yeah. Everywhere you turn, the Guyanese people getting shaft. Dr. Mangal said that they excuse them, give at the time. Hear this one, this is very important, was that releasing the oil contracts will likely confuse the public who are not knowledgeable about these contracts. Man, something needs to be fixed in those people's head to call us fools. Guys, you hear that? Them don't give me a 20 million loan for help Guyana put some oil policies in place. Gosh, I can't find the right laughter or the grin to bring out here. Them lend you money and them will dictate what you must put in place. You hear that? $20 million. They will put policies in place that will benefit who? You think me and you? It will benefit somebody else, either the oil companies or them themselves. They will make the policies suit themselves. Man, we got to be stupid. Since independence, we can't get out of this thing. We have to. How are we going to get anything from these oil people if the World Bank and other financial institutions against us? Anybody can answer that question? Huh? Shakima, can you answer that question? Can the leaders answer these questions? You know, when I read that story this morning, I recall right away Ghana Gas to Shore project is the World Bank put those people in that trap. Them did it. Have Ghana losing almost 200 million US every year. And when they were asked, you know what I said? Oh, we made a mistake. It was a mistake on our part, the World Bank. 200 million US. That country that has people living with $1.90 per day. Half the population living in extreme poverty, doesn't have water, doesn't have toilets, doesn't have fishes. World Bank turned back and said, it was a mistake on our part. That's what I tell the world. We carried that story before. This is the way, Guyana, they set about to cheat, steal, and rob you blind. They think you're stupid. We can't read and we can't understand. That's what they actually said in the to Dr. Mangal. The oil contract too. Hard for us to read and understand. Let me tell them. I want to tell all of them. I went to a school named St. Paul Primary in Wakanam, a primary school, and I can read and understand better than many of you who went to all the big universities of this world. Put that behind your back and smoke it. Smoke it. Let me say this, brothers and sisters. There is hope in Guyana. I have hope. And there's a lot of people who understand their game, and there are people who understand a little and are speaking out against this wholesale rip-off of our resources, our wealth, our gold, our diamond, our bauxite, now our oil, including international people. Like Dr. Mangal, the former EPA head, a man named Vincent Adams, is one of them. And the team I have here at Kaieteur News, we understand what's playing out. We get in there slowly, but surely, and we will bring it to you as we see fit. Exxon wants nothing to do with people like us, people like Dr. Mangal and Vincent Adams. We make them too uncomfortable. We expose them. That's why they don't want people. They don't want to hear us around. But guess what? The politicians, what they're doing, for please Exxon, yes, for please Exxon, will get rid, fired people like Adams and Dr. Mangal. Anybody they would go after who is not in the scheme of things to rape this land and all of us. We just allowing foreign companies for kick and rape we. Wait man, are we lunatics? Don't you guys have pride? Guyanese, we have to stop. We have to stop sitting down. We got to start speaking up. We got to start standing up. It is time to stop taking the nonsense that our leaders stuffing down with craw. Say it. Say it like I does all the time. We have to and must get those contracts reviewed, cancelled, revoked, or renegotiated. Please keep that in your thoughts and in your mind. We must. That is my goal. That should be our goal. That's the goal we at Kaieteur News stands for. That's what we are demanding. 2% can't work. We must have at least 15% royalty plus taxes. Let them take all the rest. Take all the profits. We don't need profits. 15% tax, 15% royalty, and taxes we want. Demand that, guys. That's what they give. Many countries, and let me be very frank, that's what the non-whites countries received. I don't have the names here, but Norway is one of them. Kiana, could you help me with some of them?
Yes, indeed, Norway is one of them, but I can get the list up for you by the time you're finished.
Yes. And all the non-white countries, every one of them, got 5% and up. What Guyana got? 2%. Oh my gosh, 2%. Let me say good night again. Please, the guy that called me and feel like crying, brother, if you don't want to listen more, just go to another station and listen to some songs so that you can sleep well. I forgot to ask you if you got stress or diabetes or blood pressure. So just turn, if you don't want to raise it, just go to another channel and listen to some nice songs or another program. I just want you guys to listen carefully. How our resources, our wealth, coming back to us, into our country, via loans, grants, donations, and handouts. This is what our leaders have been settling for since the 23rd of February, 1966, Independence Day. That's what we have been living on. Loans and loans, donations upon donations, grants upon grants to survive, to eat, to live. That's what our leaders have Guyana since independence. Tonight, I want to share with you some information on how the wealth which we have here is being returned to us, not in cash or kind, but loans and grants to be repaid with interests and donations like the COVID-19 vaccine and the other assistance they pelt and throw at us every now and again. Guyana, your money is trickling in year after year as handouts as we continue to beg countries like the Americas and Europe. I remember some time back, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Bruce Golding, once said, when talking about our Caribbean leaders, the man said, leaders like ours go around the world telling people how they're poor and that we need all sorts of charity. We need help. He said Guyana leaders walking around the world with a begging bowl in their hand, begging for aid. Guys, I have never forget that man's words. Never. He was addressing He didn't speak to Barbados. He didn't speak about Trinidad or Antigua. What he was talking about is Guyana leaders. Because every sentence came out of his mouth. It only belonged to Guyana. But just that he didn't call our president name. That's how we live. That's how the leaders have you living. Going around telling the world that we're poor and we need help. We need handout. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, we are one of the richest countries in the world right now. We are too rich to be stretching our hands, begging for alms, like junkies. You know, an African student, her name is Melins Bart Williams from Sierra Leone, one of the African countries that has oil, still have oil, who went to one of the best universities the world has to offer in finance and economics. The girl said something that puzzled her. She couldn't fathom, she couldn't understand. But she asked this question. She asked many questions, and she said all remain unanswered. She asked, why is it that 5,000 units of her country's currency is worth 1 unit of the US dollar? When it is the very countries in Africa that are the ones with the actual gold reserves. You hear that question the girl asked? Why them currencies 5,000 to 1 US dollar? When them have the gold reserves in their hand, in their pocket, in their land. What happened to Guyana? It's the same position we're in. We have the gold, we have the oil, we have the bauxite, we have the timber. And guess what? Our currency is 225 Guyana dollar to 1 US dollar. And it is still climbing. Guys, that student, that girl words describe Guyana exactly. You hear that? Exactly. It's our resources we have here. Every mineral you could think about, we have in vast amounts. And our US dollar keep climbing. While our Guyanese currency devalues. Every day devalue. I remember in 1984, I was a young man. And the US dollars were 4 to 1. And now it's fetching 225. Here's what happened to we, man. Kimal, what happening to we in this country? Let me ask all of you, Guyana. Goat bite we? Cat scratch we? Dog bark at we? How can we be so rich in resources? The richest in the world, yet poor in our wealth. Yet we have so many people begging, snatching chains, snatching umbrella on the streets. What's going on here, Guyana? What's wrong with our leaders? Which university did they attend? Not to see and not to understand that with the wealth we have, it should benefit us and not only those to whom we are selling that wealth to. It belongs to us. My pocket needs. These people pockets that is sitting around this table in this radio station, they need a better life. They need a house. They need a land. They need a car. They need to live a good life. A life like what Kuwait and the Dubai people and the United Arab Emirates people are living. They need a life like the Norwegian people that has oil that is less than what we have. Our currency should have been 1-to-1 by now alongside the US dollars. Barbados, with no natural resources, is 2-to-1 US. And I noticed 30 years now I've been traveling to Barbados. It still remains the same. Trinidad and Tobago is 6-to-1. Guyana has been producing oil for more than a year. And instead of becoming stronger, our dollar is becoming weaker. You know, the African student said, it is quite evident that the aid, the help, is not coming from North America or Europe, but the other way around. The girl said aid is going to Africa and North America and Europe. It is the same thing happening here. Our wealth going. Our wealth going. It is not going to Suriname, guys. It is not going to Venezuela. It is going straight to the West, the Americas, and the countries in Europe. You have the French companies here. You have the Chinese companies here. You have the American companies here. You have the Australians here. You have the Canadians here fetching out our wealth. Where is it going, Kimal? It's going to their countries. It is the same thing which they did to the oil producing countries in the 1970s. These countries, the girl said, deposited their oil reserves in the United States, which took that money and lent it to poor countries, including Guyana. And this is how the debt crisis of the 1980s came about. This is one of the reasons why Guyana debt reached 2.1 billion US dollars. Because the foreign countries and the World Bank and the IMF were only too willing to lend poor countries like ours. That's why we're in such a debt. North America and the Western world depend on countries like Africa, and now more so on Guyana in every possible way, since our resources are so cheap and so scarce, and it is the best. They depend on us right now. And the girl said, how does the West ensure that the free aid keeps coming? This is how that student from Sierra Leone explained it. She said, by systematically destabilizing and corrupting the richest African nations and their systems. That's how they make sure it's coming. And all of this, she said, is being backed by huge public relations campaign setting about to fool the people, leaving the entire world under the impression that Africa are poor and dying and barely surviving on the mercy of the West, when it is the other way around. It is our resources they are taking to enrich themselves and throw back pennies, or I love to say, use the word crumbs, to make us believe They are our parents. They are good people. They're God-sent people. Oh, they're blessed. They may help you. They may help you with your own money, with your own wealth. The girl said, she said, well done, Oxfam, UNICEF, Red Cross, Life Aid, and all the other organizations that continuously run multi-billion-dollar advertising campaigns showing how them sending charity to sustain, you hear this? To sustain poor Africa and places like Guyana. Ad campaigns. She said the ad campaigns, the advertisements they put out, they get innocent people to pay for it, giving the impression that they're sending donations to Africa and places like Guyana right now. You know, I remember ExxonMobil. I don't like cricket, so I don't know exactly which match. But I remember they had cricket playing. I don't know, maybe a year or two, I don't know when. But ExxonMobil sponsored that cricket. And they run an ad. One ad they run at the bottom. And it says, cricket comes with the kind compliments. The kind compliments of ExxonMobil. You know how that thing, I don't watch cricket, but whenever I am in a sports department, and these guys have on the match, and when I see that thing scrolling, coming with the kind compliments of ExxonMobil. God, I remember going out on the road, talking in the streets, and you hear Guyanese saying, oh boy, thank you, Exxon, thank you. If Exxon didn't come here, we would never ever see cricket. Oh, they must pay for cricket, you see? Yeah, and they had advertisements going in the newspapers all over. How Exxon sponsor cricket. Guys, brothers and sisters, you will be paying, we will be paying, not one, 2 times the money them spend for bring cricket in this country. But you don't know that. The money will be coming out from our oil out there. Actually, all the money they spend, listen to this carefully. Actually, every cent they spend in donations. Kiana, please help me with this too. With donations and what they do for communities across this land, they will recover them all. All. Nothing is for free. So don't put your mind and say, oh, Exxon build this little cricket ground for we. Exxon build this bridge for we. Exxon help we fix this project and that project. No. Every single cent they do comes out back. And you may not pay half. You can pay triple or 5 times. You know, I can add a few more names about those who are part of this game of making us feel we are poor and encouraging us to borrow, because the more we borrow from them, the more they tie us to their dress, to their skirt tails. We can include the International American Development Bank, the IDB, the Caribbean Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, the World Bank, as I just spoke about, and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the European Union, and others. Yeah. United Nations Environment Program. Comes here, and they offer technical assistance so that they can direct our policies. You hear that? They might give we help, but they might come and direct the policies. Direct our priorities and keep us, hear this carefully, and keep us in the Western net. We are kept under that cast net. You can't move away. You can't get away. you can't get out. That's what they do. That's what all these people do. That girl said, that student that went to the best university in finance, she said that when one hand gives under the flashing lights of cameras, the other takes in the shadows, in the dark, in the night. We all know. She said we all know our dollars are worthless, while the euro and US dollars is running the world. That's what she said. When they give you under the camera, like Exxon does, give you a man, put a big picture in the paper. Oh, Exxon helped the Albistown children. Them a thief in the night. All the Albistown children and all Guyana wealth. That's what it means in a nutshell. That's what they do. This is what is happening. The West, Europe, China, they give it one hand and take back 1,000,000 times. 1,000,000 times with the other. In the form, in many, many forms. They take them back in concessions. They take them back in tax holidays. They take it from your wealth. Then give you loans and take it back with interest, which multiplies when you cannot repay. When them done with the interest and compound interest, you end up paying 10 times, sometimes 20 times more than what you borrow. That's what is going on in this land. That 2.1 we borrow for the Skeldon plant, the airport, and all these projects, the transmission line, that's what they do. All those loans sitting there, and interest and compound interest is piling up, bro. Left in our we may leave, which I'm certain, because I know we will get a change with these oil contracts to pay off all those $2 billion loans. But I hate to think that our children have to live in debts. No, guys, no, don't do that to yourselves. That African student said that Africa is so rich that France is receiving about $500 billion American dollars year in and year out for foreign exchange reserves based in African countries, and also on colonial debts they force them to pay. You hear how much money they get from the African continent? $500 billion American dollars a year. God. Oh. France ain't got no timber. And making money off it. You hear that? They ain't got no forest. And they're making money off of timber. Remember how we allow bison in to fetch away our timber? Them, I was shocked when I see. You can Google this. Go Amazon and you can see Bison Lin advertise Guyana timber, our lumber, the Wamara, which is the most expensive wood you have in the world. Them advertise our Wamara wood on Amazon. You know? It's like me advertising you stuff for you got in your bedroom for sale. Come on, man. If this is not nonsense, this is not unbelievable things. You know? Just Google it, man, and you can see it. You know what the French Prime Minister said recently? He said we have to be honest and acknowledge that a big part of the money in them bank, you know where it come from? Africa. The exploitation of the African continent with their gold, with their timber, the rubber and everything else. Yes. You imagine that? France is one of the largest exporters. He said so, you know. And if you Google it, you'll see it in the world. Exporters of timber. And these people don't have one single square mile of forest. You imagine that? In 2008, the Prime Minister said, without Africa, France will slide down in the rank of a third world power like Guyana. That was his own words said. That student from Sierra Leone said charity merely creates inferiority and dependency. You know, I could not have said it so better than that. Charity merely creates inferiority and dependency. You know, your custom giving somebody a $10, a junkie a $10, this one a $50, that one a $100. They become independent. They can't think for themselves. That's what the girl said. Africa can't think for themselves. Guyana can't think for themselves. We depend on handout. Oh, America, you're going to throw a little couple million for we again? And that's how we live. That's how these leaders have we living. The girl called for fair exchange. She said it's not about charity. It's about charity. Share. She don't want charity. She said the girl said we must get our fair share of what belongs to us. Man, how can't we understand that? Why aren't we understanding that? That we should get a fair share of our thing, our wealth. I want to tell you guys, brothers and sisters, I want to tell all of you, Guyana, Glenn Lall would like to invite all of you, to change the way you look at life and the way our leaders conduct the country's business. We must learn from the experiences of Africa and many nations that has been robbed and robbed blindly. We must take note as to how the West treated those countries, how Europe treated them, how America, Canada, Australia, the Russians, the Chinese treated them. The Western companies, all those companies, guys, are here in our backyards, digging out our gold. They are in our front yards, fetching away our oil. All of this, guys, is being done in the night through less than transparent deals and through other means, if you know what I mean. In the nights, you know when things happen in the nights, and under the table, that's what they're doing to us. Read through the line, and please wake up and don't sleep. The gold contracts are being hidden. The records are not being shown to us. And as I talk, the records not showing to us. Please listen to this carefully. I just came up from the editorial room in which we are taking a story tomorrow. And the headline is this: the PPP government that we have now is hiding, has reduced the information on our oil and the oil money. Under the coalition government, we used to see everything. They put out a statement today, only today. You need to read it in the newspaper tomorrow. Or I'll be speaking back about it on Friday. They're hiding. They reduced the information now. They reduced the records. Just like how they're hiding the OMI contract from us and all those gold contracts and bauxite contracts, them just reduce the oil money now for me. The bauxite continues to be exported by shiploads. Even your timber is floating away. Go outside and check, man. Send a camera, send a drone. Borrow the army drone what I spend 900,000 American dollars for 5. Me buy 4. Me got 4. Me pay, must see, $5,000 for the 4. The army spend 900,000 American dollars for 5. Send out that and let them see how your timber floating away to other shores. Soon, Guyana, you wouldn't even get no fish from the sea out there. And we all will wake up running in the trenches and in the gutter to find cackabelly. It is eat good. It is taste good. I went to Escobar Coast last Sunday at a wedding, and the guys had that for cutters while we were taking the vodka and coconut water. And it tastes beautiful. I wouldn't lie. I grew up eating it. You know? Guys, are we going to become like those African countries where half the population starving and living on 2 or less than $2 per day? And donations? No, man. No. Not with all this wealth we have. Please. Do you want to become like Trinidad? Or sister Caribbean states? Which has been selling oil. Trinidad has been selling oil for over 100 years now. And today these people are begging for COVID help. Man, sometimes I can't find a word to describe these things. 100 years you have been producing oil and you're begged. And the Prime Minister was so happy that he got the help, the $52.5 million loan for fight COVID in them country. Brothers and sisters, a pastor called me just after my Monday night program and said, Guyana is like a sheep. Is like sheep without a shepherd. Pastor, I thank you. I love you for enlightening me to that. Or to put it that way, I could not agree with this man more. The man said, everything I have been saying on this radio, he has fact-checked and confirmed every single word I said. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. And he left me smiling. This is what he said to me. He said, Glenn, if you can't improve the leaders' intelligence, then please allow me to rearrange their ignorance. Buddy, I love you. I love you for that. You put it so unique that I will never forget that. If you can't improve the leaders' intelligence, then please allow me to rearrange their ignorance. Guyana, please take note. Please pay attention to what is going on in this land. Your leaders, every one of them is silent And you need to ask why. You need to ask why. Tomorrow, we are carrying another story which says the PPP government, Kiana, you did the story. Tell them about the story. That story. The one that you did.
Which aspect of it you want me
Just
to?
tell them the story you're going about. What you did.
Which one of them? There's several.
Anyone you want to tell them, tell them. I need to tell them a story. I need to push them to read the Kaieteur news.
Okay. Well, for tomorrow, what I can tell you is that we have, and I think that it's really important to go back to this story that Kimal is the author of, and he would be highlighting, is the lack of transparency and accountability that we're seeing from the PPP, which has promised to do better than its predecessor. And the lack of information that we're seeing, the lack of details that we're seeing on the production reports, on the oil revenue that we are receiving, the oil lifts, it leaves you at a really worrying place as to where we are heading. And another issue that was pointed out in Kimal's article, which all of you will be able to read tomorrow, is that the Natural Resource Fund, the PPP had said on the election campaign trail that it would make amendments to this act or repeal it or what's not. Whatever they were going to do, they were going to strengthen this piece of legislation. And we have not seen any action in this regard. We have not seen anything.
Thank you.
So these are just, this is not even the tip of the iceberg.
I think I've talked enough. I just want to end here. I want to hear from some of the callers. I want to hear from my friend Williams here, sitting here. Mr. William, shoot your questions. Or take the telephone calls too.
Well, if
That's
you
good.
allow me to comment
Yes,
first
go ahead.
before, I think when the PPP rode into office, as Kiana said, they rode in on this promise of transparency. And because the APNU AFC set a low bar for transparency, I think they came into office now thinking that the people are going to give them a break because the APNU did not set a proper precedent. But they're entirely mistaken if they think that Kaieteur News is going to give them a break. And so on this issue of details for our oil revenues and our oil production, I think the former Minister Winston Jordan, he set quite an ambitious precedent when he put out the first report of details. And there are 5 pages of a lot of details and diagrams giving us so much information I didn't expect from our oil revenues and production. And when you compare it to this singular page from the Minister of Natural Resources, Mr. Vikram Bharat, you are so disappointed. Because here is the former minister giving us a wealth of information about just one lift in 1 month, and now the PPP is now coming, and we are asking for information dating back several months, and you're giving me 1 page? What am I
Yes.
supposed to do with that? There are so many transparency advocates that have been writing in the paper because they don't have a lot of information about what we're getting. They're speculating and trying to do independent calculations with inadequate information. And they've been writing to the paper and saying we need more information. Mr. Christopher Ram is one of the persons who's saying that. And now you're sending me a press release with just 1 page and very basic details, and you're telling me that you're recommitting yourself to transparency. What am I supposed to do with this information? Half of the information in the press release, I think I already had before. So
So they don't want to tell us. They're hiding us. They ice past this nation.
So they definitely
Yes.
need to do a lot more.
Yeah, the oil and all our resources belong to them. You know, like I said Monday night, paper bags just go to offices. You know, paper bags with American dollars just go to offices. When they behave like this, it tells you that paper bag, or if I analyze polythene bag or gogi bag now, going into their offices. Because why would you want to Why would you want to hide this information from us? Why you don't want us, the people of this country, to see what deal you're signing with these foreign multinationals? No, man. No. Take the mic and speak.
But Glenn,
Yeah.
Admin Williams, but Glenn, you have said it before that you see some people back into government and this country done. So a question that I wanted to ask you is this. If for the past 40 years, most of our natural resource been badly managed by our politicians, but it been ripped and taken away by foreign nationals, and this paper bag that you're speaking about, why now should me and the people in the streets who don't really understand what's going on think that there would be a change?
Change have to come. You gotta have hope. You gotta have hope. And the reason why you are like that is because you weren't au fait with what's going on. What happened? What I've seen happening in this country is that the people out there, all the races, all they look at is party politics. Who is PPP? Who is PNC? Who is this and who is that? You understand? We got to come off that. And unless we start thinking and talking as a Guyanese, as a citizen of this land, that owns every single piece of resources in this land, we are not going to get anywhere. If we think PNC and we think PPP, we are not going to get anywhere. Unless we get ourselves to understand what they have all been doing and still continue to do to us, we will not stand up as a body. And you need to stand up as a body to fight what's taking place in this land. But we have to educate the people. Go ahead, ask your question.
Your point taken in terms of educating the people.
Yeah.
But listen to this question coming back to Kemal in terms of the previous administration is of the opinion that they would have gotten a break from the people, but not from Kaieteur News. Now, this is the question. In the campaign train, we had some big names. C. Gunraj, Datadin, and these people was to the forefront fighting. Only they know if they're fighting for democracy or they're fighting for transparency. But presently, what I wanted to know, why only Glenn?
Why only Glenn?
And not
No,
the
it's
business
not.
brothers.
It's not only Glenn. But before we go back to Glenn, that your interpretation of what Kemal said there is not what he meant. What Kemal was saying is that the PPP was out, right? And they thought when they come back in, they would have gotten a free ride. That's all he's saying. But we were just what we're doing here now. We were just on the coalition, and we will continue to do that every single day of our lives, keeping the people informed as to what is happening. Yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Lall, to the first question, Mr. Adwin Williams mentioned, you asked about why should the man on the street basically join this fight for change if you're not really seeing anything. But, Adwin, I'd like to share a few things with you about the change that Kaieteur News has been able to effect just with its advocacy. And the first thing that I want to let you know is that the contract that we have with ExxonMobil, it allowed for self-insurance. Basically, for the company to say, well, based on this limited liability company that really doesn't have any sort of assets, that company is basically, the parent company is saying, okay, well, listen, if something happened, I gonna let whatever assets the company, the subsidiary has, or the sister company has, whatever assets they have, they will take care of it. Kaieteur News, because of its advocacy, has been able to change the state of affairs. It's not exactly where we want it to be in terms of getting full coverage,
It must be
which
there,
is what we're pushing towards. But we were able to get this changed. Another thing that I would like to bring to your attention is that Kaieteur News was the only newspaper that was able to expose that part of the World Bank loan that we were getting, well, that we're still getting, which is $20 million. Part of that was being used to fund an ExxonMobil company, our partner, our lobbyist, to do our laws. And if we didn't expose that, that contract would not have been scrapped. Because of what Kaieteur News did, we were able to scrap that. Another change that we were able to effect is that we were able to get the Department of Energy to make a commitment that exorbitant costs would not be allowed as part as cost recovery. We were able to get that. And another thing, just finally, because there's so many things, but I'm coming to the point here. Another thing we were able to expose at Kaieteur News is that when we had someone in our corner to ensure that provisions are in the draft local content policy to give Guyanese the maximum benefits in the oil and gas sector, the government of the day, which was the APNU AFC coalition, they actually removed that person and allowed ExxonMobil to come in with their person, change the laws, change the provisions to suit the oil companies. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning all of this to you, because this is just what Kaieteur News has been able to do by itself with its advocacy. Imagine if we had just half of the population to really understand the impact of the oil and gas sector, what this wealth means to them, and how they're being robbed on a daily basis. Imagine how much change we would be able to get.
Before you take it, let me re-emphasize on that insurance. We still do not have insurance to cover us in case of a spill. Don't forget. ExxonMobil, CNOOC, the Chinese company, and Hess, they are still to sign, taking full responsibility. 2 years now, Dr. Adams have said, this is something that can be done in 1 hour. They have not signed it. And our governments, both the coalition and the PPP, is silent. A matter of fact, you know what Jagdeo said? Tell him what Jagdeo said. He think. In case of a spill, he think Exxon gonna pay.
Yes.
He think. Man, if this is not lunacy, if this is not craziness, I don't know what that is. It's like, you house burn down, you think Glen Lall gonna pay. You think. What kind of think?
But
Go ahead.
But the history of ExxonMobil, and you were stressing it early on, they're the investor, and they investing is to protect their interests. If you don't stand up from Jumpstart in terms of conditions and policies, ExxonMobil can push what they need.
You let me down,
But
Mr. Williams, you let me down. From Monday night to now, when you asked me some beautiful questions on the roadside, and I told you clearly, I said, buddy, I would love you to come on this radio and bring your questions, because I don't want to answer you right there. I want to tell the nation, because they were all valid and beautiful questions that we need to expound on. We need to explain. We need to tell so that the whole country can learn. And you come here and you bring a book and like you don't have no questions there. You disappoint me. You can come back Friday with questions too.
No.
Do we have any telephone calls? Yeah? Keep the phone. The people say you guys either taking off the phone off the hook, because they said when they call the phone busy all the time.
I think it's because of the number of callers that want to
Call at the same time?
call at the same time.
Okay, let's just remind them of all the avenues they can use.
All
and the
right.
number.
Give them both numbers.
So you guys can call us on 226-7453, or you can send us a text or shoot us a text on WhatsApp. Okay, we have a caller right now.
Yes.
Good evening. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio.
Hi, good night to Mr. Glenlan and everybody in the office.
Thank you. Good night.
Concern is I want to let Guyana wake up. These people wake up and come out all over the place and the road. And we're calling media and nobody's idle problem. We got enough money to get old people, young people, everyone, beggar one, young man, drunk man, ganja man, everyone.
I agree.
I like to encourage everybody. Mr. Glenn, speak to me.
I agree fully with you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to that caller. Just a quick reminder of the numbers: 226-7453. You can shoot us a text or a WhatsApp message. Do not call the cell phone number 6222222. Or you can also send us a comment on the Facebook Live. We have a caller on evening. Good evening, call. You are on Tune into Kaieteur Radio.
Hi, good night
Good night.
to the entire panel.
Thank you.
Hello.
Mr. Glenn,
Yes.
I just heard that you told the guy that things would come. You just have to have hope. Hope things would come, but who would bring about things to come? Isn't it the captain that is taking part in this country?
Nice question.
You had told us those captains have been tied up like a guano.
Yep.
Who would able to loose them?
We will. We will.
Because remember, the brown paper bag is already going to them. Right?
I hear you.
So I think it's hard for them to be on loose.
No. I don't agree with you. I'm not going down that road. I know if we stand up at the gate, no paper bag can go in. You hear what I'm saying? And I have hope. You cannot be tied so tight that it cannot be untied or loose. We will loose it. We will catch you on the road and untie you.
Would they allow we to lose them?
Brother, once you're au fait with what's going on and you understand clearly, you yourself will help us untie them to benefit us all.
One more point.
Yeah.
I think these guys' belly is so filled with wealth. Filled with wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Wealth. They are so filled that even they are vomiting it out.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, it's hurt me to hear these things that is happening to Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I am a simple layman. I know Africa is being exploited. I know that for sure. But who is to blame? The people in the West, I do not blame them. If the captain them, I would blame. The leader.
Well, like I said, if you hide the contracts, if the leaders hide the contracts, like what our leaders is planning to do now with the OMI and all the rest of the contracts, then they will continue to fill their pockets rather than ours. But if we continue saying, if we continue preaching, if we continue calling them out on these heinous acts, we will get them. They have to come. Even if we have to go, even if...
Okay, and the next thing, I heard that you is calling on a lot of liars to come on board. I would like, because I know many of these liars, they have less fortunate family. And come on board, there's a great way they could show that they will be helping their family.
Yes, I hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Like the caller said, the caller said about if they continue getting this paper bag and how much they have. Yes, caller, I know that some of them are filthy rich. I know that. I know greed has stepped in. And that's the word. That's the word I am afraid of. When greed steps in our leaders' heart, their mind, their body and soul, it's a difficult fight. But I still believe that if we bind together, if we band together, and we stand up as a team, they have to change that. I believe that. And that will happen. It has to happen. It must happen.
But Glenn, how do we get this population like Key mobilized in this fight?
The first thing, like I said, you told me you were listening. I said, unless we educate the man, unless we tell the man, buddy, you could get police, army, public servants, the nurses, the doctors, the people who sweep the streets, unless them understand how rich they are and how their salaries can be 3 times starting this year, you will not get them to understand. You got to tell them you're not poor, brother. You're living on handouts. You should not be living on handouts. You are a rich guy. Unless he understand that, you will never get the fight up and running.
And to add to that, Mr. Lall, the program as it relates to sensitizing Guyanese, and I really wanted to make this point to you as well, sir. Adwin?
Yes.
Adwin Williams. Yes. Now, it is sometimes very difficult. It's not always easy. It takes time to explain to a man that the crumbs that he's happy accepting, he actually owns the entire bakery.
Yes. He owned the whole bakery. Unless the man understands. Right. And
to get him to understand that.
Thank you. Let me add a little piece to you, Kiana. The man doesn't know that the bakery belonged to him.
Yeah.
He just collecting the crumbs. You got to let the man understand that the entire bakery he owns.
Absolutely.
You understand? And he should not be taking crumbs. And a little piece to add to that, right? We should thank Granger, I'm going to say this again, for releasing that contract. If he didn't release that contract, like Trinidad saw their contract 70 years after. Many of these African countries, you know when they see the contract? They idle down and they never see the contract. So they never know how they were being robbed and how much they were being robbed. Go ahead. Speak to the man.
Well, I was going to tell you a little about your bakery.
Yes, go ahead.
Because Mr. Lall said tonight that our currency should be on par 1-to-1 with the U.S. currency.
Right.
But I want to disagree because I think it should be higher than the U.S. currency.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
So we talk about our oil reserves per capita. Kuwait is the country with the highest, the most oil reserves per person. It is also the country with the highest currency.
Yes.
Stronger than the US.
The US, yeah.
The 4 countries with the highest currency are all these Middle Eastern countries with oil forming the basis of their economies. And Guyana has more oil per capita than some of those countries.
Right.
That is how rich we are.
That's how rich we are.
Only Kuwait is more than we. And Kuwait doesn't have more
And you
than
should look at how those people are living.
we should demand to be living like that.
We have the wealth, I would say, that can make every single one of us a prince in our country or a princess in our country. And it's beyond me that we continue to accept this, role of being the pauper in our own land while the foreigners become the kings and the queens.
Yes, thank
But
you.
I understand we have a caller
yes,
on
we
the
have a
line, so
caller.
we'll
Yes,
just
take
take
the
that
call.
person.
Hello, good evening, caller. You are tuned
Hi.
into Kaieteur Radio.
Yes, good night, friend. How you doing?
Good evening.
Good night to the studio, Mr. Glenn. Good night, sir.
Yes, good night.
Yeah, we speaking about these resources of this country, right? I mean, the biggest question on the bullseye right now is about the oil. We're speaking about fair enough. Don't need to get it started out, as you're saying, immediately and properly. Now, we have gold, we have diamonds, not forget the diamonds, bauxite, timbers, rice, sugar. Now, these minerals are very expensive as well. And why, if we have to do a project in this country, now, we have to go and get a loan. What are these resources money going? Is everything we need to do, we have to get a loan? Therefore, our resources will have a value?
Very
You understand
nice.
what I'm saying?
Very nicely put. Thank you. Very nicely put. Let me just add a piece to you there, my friend.
Yeah, brother.
Our goal alone,
Yes,
the goal alone that Guyana has,
right.
if we handle it right, we don't even need oil. We can be filthy rich with our goal alone.
Exactly, that is what
Just
I'm saying.
one product. But the Guyanese people does not understand that. The leaders are allowing people to steal it from us. They are allowing them to rape us. And guess what? They're throwing back a few crumbs at us. Jobs. And jobs. The PPP and the coalition, every word that come out their mouth is jobs. Guyanese gonna get jobs. I talked about that Monday night, in which the only money we got from OMI when they were here prior is the taxes from the jobs, from the local people jobs. That's what we get. We are filthy rich, brother.
Yes,
But the
I
people
know that.
doesn't know it.
They know it, but what I'm saying, as far as I'm concerned, with most of the people in this country right now, they had wanted PPP to go back there, and because them PPP go back, them not came nothing no more. What them do from what them not do.
My
the
friend-
main thing, they people is there.
Thank you, my friend,
Yes, sir.
my friend. Trust me, we are so divided in this land that one set of people want the APNI and the PNC and the PNC to go back. And the one set of people want the PPP to go back. But whether they want them or not, that's not the issue. The issue is that unless we get them to understand that both of them are no good for this country.
Now, one more thing, Mr. Glenn, I would like to emphasize on. Right? Well, a lot of people like forget, but complaints just come in and come in and come in. But I know it for a fact. The Borbies Bridge is not a bad idea. Bridging the river, okay, it's faster transportation wise for people, but they give out contracts of how much private owners invested to make a public bridge, okay. Now they charge the people X amount of money for so much. People crying out for these things. Like we're saying again, the resources that we have in this country could have made 10 times more than that.
All right.
Commuters could have used it in a decent manner.
All right. I spoke about the Berbice Bridge.
Yeah.
The Berbice Bridge is one of the projects you call PPP projects.
Yes.
It's a
right.
public-private partnership. It happens all over the world with big projects. The government, they bring in private people to have investments in them, and so that they can run it.
Right.
And it benefits all, the government and them. But the way these private projects are being designed, the Berbice Bridge is one, and the Marriott Hotel is another one. And now they're going with the Gas to Shore project. They choose their people, who to put in there. And they design the project to rob the people, and not them, the private people. Them.
Right.
All of us are being robbed, and they design the project to only benefit their friends, their people, the private ones who come in there. The Berbice Bridge is a very clear example.
Right.
Very, very, very clear. And the Marriott. Both projects, listen to this, both projects at one time were only making money to pay the private investors.
Yeah.
No, although we, the Guyanese people, put the bulk of the money into both projects, we weren't getting a cent.
Right.
And that is fact. If you Google it, you see it. I would have reported on that thing maybe for years. Thank you.
Yes, brother. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lall.
Yeah.
As we wind down to the last few minutes on the program, I'd like to ask you for your closing
You
remarks.
finished? You're not taking more calls?
There's no other call so you can give. I guess you can give your closing remarks.
All right. Let me say, guys, are you going to sit back and continue to sleep and allow what's taking place in this land to all Guyana. Listen, I want you to know that there are many people in this land who are illiterate, who cannot read or write properly. I look upon you, the ones who are listening to people like us here, to share the information we are giving you so that we can have them all on board. You need to help this panel here wake up the other people who are sleeping and let them know, because we need them all to carry this fight. We cannot allow our government to continue to hide information from us. No, man. The information on our resources must be in our eyesight. If it's not in our eyesight, we will be robbed and robbed blindly. So I am calling loudly on our president, Brother Irfan Ali. I am calling on our opposition leader, Mr. Joseph Harmon. I want you guys to put your heads together and be straight up with us, with the people of this country. We need to know. We don't need the games that your parties are playing with our resources. No, man. No. Y'all don't do that to us. Every day we speak, you have people crying. You have people putting bad mouth on you because they're listening and they're beginning to understand what's playing out in this land. And it's not Glenn Lall is making you guys losing a vote. It's you yourself by hiding this type of information from us and the people of this country. You know we are living in a democracy. And even if we're not living in a democracy, this man that is speaking here, his mouth ain't got no bottom. This man's mouth will speak. Even if I got to walk in the streets by myself and confront people to tell them the games, the scampishness, the skullduggery that y'all are polling and allowing in this land. Guyana, brothers and sisters, I love you all. Good night and God bless you all.